Hello everyone. It has been quite some time since I've done a dedicated sit-down book video, and I'm certainly feeling a little bit rusty, but I thought that I would try to get back into the swing of things with kind of a mid-year reading check-in. I've been watching a lot of these, and it's inspired me to do my own. I think it's a nice way to just see where I'm at, and I know I haven't done a wrap-up in a really long time, so you'll hear about books that I haven't spent a lot of time talking about, but I just wanted to see how my reading has gone so far this year and kind of put a stake in the ground for what I still want to accomplish. So let's just jump right in. The first question is, how has your reading been going so far? I have read 17 books, which I think is historically fewer than I usually would have read at this point in the year. And I think that's for a lot of reasons. The main one is that I've been spending a lot of time endlessly scrolling. I've noticed it. It's become a problem, I would say. I'm really trying to limit my screen time, and not that I've made any headway with it yet, but I am really aware of it, that time that I would normally be spending reading, like an hour and a half before work, that used to be some of my favorite time in the day, I now am not doing that. So unless I have been immersed in a book and absolutely devouring it, I'm really struggling with my attention span. So that's something I'm really trying to work on, and I think it has affected like how much I'm reading and just not spending enough time. And it does make me sad because I think I'm missing out on great books, or just reading more great books in a year. And not that I have any specific goal. I mean, I do have a number list on Goodreads. It was originally 50 and I did move it down to 40 because I was feeling bummed and a little bit disheartened. So now it's at 40, and I still think that's feasible. It's an arbitrary number, but I think it's feasible. And it almost is, it's helping me be more aware of time that I could be spending reading. So that is helpful for me. In terms of how it's been going, though, with the books that I have read, when I kind of pulled these from my shelves, I was thinking about it. I have read some really great books and books that I've really enjoyed. Not every book, is perfect, and I haven't enjoyed everything that I've read, but I have had some really great bookish experiences this year, and I really have found my taste, and I think that's what excites me the most is, I learn something new about myself with every book I read in most ways, but I have definitely found my taste, and it's not so specific. I think I have different pockets of taste, but I've definitely curated a collection of books on my TBR that I do think I'll really enjoy. And it just is a good feeling when you kind of find your niche and you're in a groove. So that's been great. So yeah, I've been enjoying my reading. I just wish I was dedicating more time to it. So that's an easy problem to solve, I think. The best book that I've read so far this year, I would say that there are two. One is A Ship of Magic by Robin Hobb. She has fast become one of my favorite authors of all time. I read so much Robin Hobb last year, so you've probably heard me talk about her. But this is the first book in the Live Ship Trader series, and it was so wonderful to dive back into the realm of the Elderlings, to be introduced to new characters or familiar characters, but kind of see their perspective on the shifting politics and the magic of this world. And I love her so dearly. So every time I pick up a Robin Hobb, I know that I'll enjoy it. And I think that's really rare, because even with other authors who I love, they have books that don't always hit the mark, or that I just don't feel as strongly about, but I've loved everything I've read by her so far. So yes, can't wait to read more. And then this is a book that, I'll sound like a drama queen when I say this, but this is a book that has entered the catalog of books that I think define my taste, but also that will live in my mind for forever. And I don't think there's that many books that I can say that of. We know the Wolf Hall Cromwell series. We know the Southern Reach series, the Southern Reach trilogy for me. Foster by Claire Keegan, Little Women, like those are books, Beloved, those are books that have imprinted on my mind, and this is another one. And it's always so wonderful when you find those books, but this is Happiness by Niall Williams. I always screw up the title. This is an Irish novel. set in a small parish called Faha in County Clare, and it is a coming-of-age novel about a boy named Noah who is struggling with his faith. He's just left the priesthood, and he's returned to live with his grandparents, and he's struggling with his faith and what comes next for him, and electricity is coming to Faha. So it is this coming-of-age in the backdrop of a huge shift in the town's life, in the parish's life, and it is so poignant. Every single page you want to like highlight and underline every single sentence. I've never felt so moved by a book, and I know that, again, that's like a dramatic thing to say, but I do really mean that. And some of it is like, it reminded me of my grandparents and my great-grandma and these conversations and always taking the long way to say something. And there's this great quote about the different ways of speaking Faha, and one is the plain way, and that's been co-opted by the politicians of, let me break this down for you. But the other way is the Baroque way, and you always take the long way to get there, and the invention of storytelling. And I loved that, and that's so much of what is like the bloodline of this book. But I just felt so touched by this book. I laughed, I cried. It's really funny and really touching and heartbreaking, but it's all about kind of these little moments and this creation of this little microcosm, and the author just does it to great effect. So yeah, this is a book that will stand the test of time for me, so highly recommend it. I'm sure I'll talk about it more, but this has been a highlight of the year, and I'm sure will be a book that I talk about forever and ever. And then the next question is the best sequel you've read so far. So the only sequel I've read is Mad Ship. I just finished this a couple weeks ago and loved it. That's something about Robin Hobb that I don't think you can say of all fantasy or sci-fi authors who write series, is that each book can stand on its own and has its own propulsive force and magic of just feeling like it just deserves its own moment. And that's something that she just always does. And the ending of this book was so, like, I was just entranced. Like, I couldn't put it down. I didn't want to get out of the car because I wanted to keep reading this. I would wake up early, go to bed late. Like, her books just consume me, and I absolutely love this. I have the third one on my shelves, and I'm trying to spread this series out because I'm gonna run out of books eventually, and that will be catastrophic. But yeah, absolutely loved this. And then it's not a sequel by any stretch of the imagination, but it does exist in the larger literary world. I read The Word for World as Far As by Ursula K. Le Guin. This is part of her Hainish cycle series, which is a sci-fi universe that she's created. And I started to read The Dispossessed a couple years ago and just never got into it. But I picked this one up a little bit on a whim. I had, of course, heard about it, but I really loved it. I just felt really moved by it. It was so cutting and gorgeous and heartbreaking. And yeah, it made me excited to try to read more Ursula K. Le Guin and maybe return to The Dispossessed. I have a couple of her other books. I think all of the Hainish books, because it's in like a chunky volume. So I think I have all of them. So this just made me inspired to read more of that world. Let's see. A new release you haven't read yet but want to. So I am really bad at keeping up with the literary world and new releases and what everyone's talking about. I just struggle to stay informed, and I definitely could be putting forth more effort, but it's just like not my thing. A book that I am aware of, that I have seen stuff about, and that I am excited about is a book that came out, I think, just a couple weeks ago, and it's the new Akwaeke Emezi called Little Rat. I had an Emezi phase a couple years ago. I read both of their novels and their memoir. Freshwater like defined my reading year a couple years ago. So I'm really excited to read another book by Emezi. So yeah, I'll pick it up when I have a chance, but I'm sure I will really love it. I just remember like being entranced by their writing. So would love to read that one. And then most anticipated release for the second half of the year. There's only one. There's only one that I have pre-ordered, a signed edition. It consumes my mind, and that is Absolution by Jeff Vandermeer. It is the new addition to the Southern Reach series. no longer a trilogy, the Southern Reach series. If you know me, you know that those books, have got me into reading. They're the reason I became a reader in my adult life. I am obsessed with those books. And with this new book coming out, I read the series in 2020. So that is now some time ago. So I think I am going to dedicate the month of September, maybe I'll start in August, but to rereading the 3 books. And then when I get the 4th one that comes out in October, I think I just need to return to that world in general. So if you're a first-time reader or a rereader, please feel free to restart that series with me and just be immersed in that world again. It's made me really excited. That's all I can think about. So that is something I want to reread, and then I cannot wait when it comes out. I think it's October 22nd, 2024. Biggest disappointment so far? I haven't really had any major disappointments, and this one I can't even call a disappointment because I had 0 expectations, but this is a book that I really loathed reading. And I know I've said it before, I sound, stupid saying that I hated this so much because it is a really important book in the feminist canon. So I know it's a me problem, but this is The Golden Notebook by Doris Lessing. I had to read this for a book club, and I think part of the reason that I hated it so much is because it's a really long book, and I would have honestly DNF'd it, and I really don't DNF lately because it bothers me to do that, but I just didn't connect with this book. And there were moments that I did find really compelling and interesting, and really great character work with Anna, but overall I just felt like my energy was being drained by this book. And so I know it's a me problem, but I wasn't disappointed by this book because, again, I had no expectations, but this is the book that I struggled with the most this year. So again, it's not for me, but a lot of people love this book and love Lessing's work, so take their feedback into account. Biggest surprise so far? You know what? This has been a surprise for me and has made me quite proud of myself, I will say. I read Our Mutual Friend by Charles Dickens and loved it. Absolutely loved it. It was just the joy of reading, and you can tell that Dickens delighted in his character, in building an atmosphere, and in his vocabulary, how many descriptive terms he can pull out to conjure up these different people. And I loved it, absolutely loved it. And I was so intimidated by this just because Dickens just feels like this unapproachable classic author who would be really difficult to read. And I just delighted in this book. I didn't love every single plot point. I was a little bit disappointed with how some of it ended, but overall, for a really chunky book, 800 or so pages, I loved it. I was always excited to pick it up. So this is a really big surprise for me and just made me more excited to read more Dickens. So right now I'm reading A Tale of Two Cities, and I've purchased a couple of his other books. Favorite new author, new to you or debut? So for me, that would probably be Niall Williams. I can't wait to read more of his work. I don't know if he has any other novels, but if he does, I will hunt them down. But I absolutely loved his writing. It just felt like it had such a rhythm to it, and every sentence was perfectly crafted. So absolutely loved him as an author. Newest fictional crush. I never have an answer to this, but I would say Rasham from the Live Ship Trader series. We can go with him because I like his vibe. Book that made you cry. This. Also, we have to give a shout out to Gathering Moss by Robin Wall Kimmerer. This is a collection of essays about experiments she's conducted, conversations she's had, and really how her study of mosses has mirrored her own life. And there are a bunch of essays that I really loved in here, but especially An Affinity for Water was about her father who had just passed and her relationship with her daughter. And it was gorgeous and so beautiful. So I'll just read a quote from it. Lyndon steps off the plane, so glad to be home, beaming a girl's smile, but her woman's eyes scan my face for signs of concern. I grin back reassuringly and hug her tight. Walking along beside her, I can see right away that she has not been wasting her days in waiting. She has been becoming. I know now there's nothing in the world that would have made me trade this lovely young woman, radiant with her arm linked through mine, for the toddler who slept in my arms. Because she was talking about, missing her daughter as a baby and craving that, but then loving who she is as a young woman and like this newfound friendship. And I think it's a conversation I've literally had with my mom. So yeah, that made me well up. A book you saw on TikTok and regret reading. I don't think I have an answer for this. Nothing I regret reading that I heard about online. These are all, I think a book that I heard about a lot that I enjoyed, so it's really not answering this question, but Biography of X by Catherine Lacey. This was all the rage when it came out. A lot of people talking about it who I follow and like their reading taste, and I ended up really enjoying this one. I felt very compelled to keep reading, and I thought it would be a little bit, just the description of it as a woman working through a biography of her deceased wife. I thought it would be a little bit of a slog, but it was super propulsive, and like I couldn't wait to hear what she discovered next. So yeah, really enjoyed that. The most beautiful book you bought this year? I guess we can still say A Biography of X. I love this edition. I just think it's really beautiful. I love the spine. And then a book that I really just shared in another video, but that I can't wait to display. This is like a coffee table book, but the Illustrated Herbal. It's a book of transcripts from the medieval period about the medicinal properties of plants, and it's just like absolutely stunning. So probably this one. Can't wait to display it. What are the books you need to read by the end of the year? So I don't know that I have a perfect answer for this, but I would love to finish the Live Ship Trader series, and then a bunch of books that I just have on my physical TBR. I was reshuffling books, and I filled an entire book spine shelf with unread books, so I really want to just read what I own. That's not to say I won't treat myself to books, but I have a lot of books, and kind of reshuffling made me have new excitement about some of them. And a couple of books that I've been saying I'm going to read forever and just haven't yet is Moonwitch Spider King, which I got so long ago now, and I was so excited to read it, and I feel like I forgot about it, and picking it up and opening it and seeing kind of some of the upfront pages just made me excited again. So that book, and then The Scar by China Mieville, and then really everything on that shelf I should be reading at some point because I own it and I bought it at some point. And then favorite video you've made so far? I don't know. I think every year my favorite video to film is my wrap up of the previous year and like my favorite books that I've read, and that is still true. I have enjoyed making some vlogs this year, and then my Ireland video. I just really enjoyed like putting that together. Not that it really has anything to do with books, but I just enjoyed that. It's like a fun thing to look back on. A video you thought would flop but did well. I don't really have an answer for this. Yeah, I don't know. And then any upcoming videos you're excited to make? Yeah, I think I'm really excited. I would love to make, like I said before, I want to reread the Southern Reach series, and then when the new book comes out, so I want to do some sort of reading vlog about that, and just all talk about like how we're excited about that book coming out, so that will be really fun. And then probably the thing I'm most excited about, that is book adjacent. It's reading adjacent, but book specific, is my library coming together. I could not be more excited. The shelves are in. They are better than I ever imagined. I have to stain them, and then I want to make a video about like organizing my bookshelves, and it is a dream come true, and I can't wait to share them with you and decorate and redecorate and buy little things to put on the shelves. It's like everything I could have ever dreamed of, and I just feel really, really excited. So that is something I'm excited to film and share with you guys. And then any channel goals before the end of the year? I don't know that I have any specific goals other than being more consistent, but I always say that and I always struggle. So that's really it, is just spending more time reading, being better about taking notes. I spent some time this morning going through some of my notes about books that I've read in the past couple months. So just being more consistent, I would say, but also engaging with other people's bookish content more. And I spend so much time, like whether it be on YouTube or TikTok or whatever, I spend so much time, and like I love being a consumer of that stuff, but I want to make sure that I am engaging with it, and like making connections with other people who have similar taste to me, or just like whose tastes I admire or whose reviews I really enjoy. I would love to hear like what your standout books have been, book or books, because I always struggle to give one book answers to things, but your standout book so far, and then what you're really excited to read for the second half of the year, because again, I struggle to keep up. So even if it's a backlist, I feel like that's where my heart resides, honestly, is more with backlists, because I just can't keep up with what everyone else is talking about. But yeah, would love to hear about it, and thank you so much for watching. I will see you very soon.